If you need a starting point for a poem, you have emotions, you have feelings, you have ideas, but you don't have ways that you can get those onto the paper. You can sometimes do what I would call an imitation poem, or simply seeking an outline from another poem. So some famous poems that I've noticed provide a really good outline and inspiration include the poem Dear Basketball by Kobe Bryant, where you could take this idea of writing a love letter to an inanimate object or an event or a time rather than to a person. And so you could read his poem and structure your idea similarly. So instead of thinking about writing a poem, you are thinking about writing a love letter to something that's not a person. Or take a look at the poem Still I Rise by Maya Angelou, where you could dust off and change her valuable items, where she talks about diamonds and oil and gold. You could talk about whatever the modern day equivalency of valuable items are. Or you could just use this as inspiration to also write a poem to dust off the haters, right? To move on past them. You could, if you don't want to look at a poem specifically and follow its format, you could also do allusions to other famous poems or to songs that you like or TV shows or movies. And so you could steal famous lines from other poems that you've read before, and you could use that as introductions or conclusions or refrains into your own poem. So if people know these references, then they'll connect better to your poem. But if they don't, it still will sound good. And no one needs to know that you got inspiration from this one line here. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? So if you want people to make connections, you want to pick classics like things from Robert Frost or William Shakespeare or Maya Angelou, Langston Hughes, right? Now, for me, I went ahead and took a famous line out of modern art, and I took the line from Jim Halpert, Bears beats Battlestar Galactica, right? So I took this famous line and I just drew it on my paper, and then I built a poem around that. So I just took a line that I really like from something that I really enjoy. Bears beats Battlestar Galactica, Jim Halpert, right? And then I wrote my poem around those words. And when I turn in my final version to a poetry contest, or if I publish this, or if I give it to an English teacher, I wouldn't necessarily highlight or embolden those words. It was just a way for me to get started writing something. It's just an outline for me that I can then work around. So using that, I was able to produce a poem that really has nothing to do with The Office, nothing that has to do with these funny terms. And I actually, edited it, added an S here, got rid of Galactica, and was able to write a poem about fueling your brain with proper nutrients and entertainment. So that could be a way that you could take your already existing ideas, thoughts, and emotions and use other forms of art to guide you to a finishing place.